Hallelujah, hallelujah,
Remember the time Jesus was speaking before a crowd and he healed all those who were lame and they started talking about
The challenge is how to keep the gospel relevant in a secular society.
From the very earliest days, Ithaca has had a radical cast to it, and that's been true since the beginning in Ithaca. It's always had that edge to it.
It's one of the few places in upstate New York where I think people are more liberal and more conscious of things going on in the world.
And to be a religious person in Ithaca, I think, is a huge challenge.
It's hard because there's the extremists. Now I put up the sign again because this month is Right to Life month, so I just have respect for life. I was trying to be more diplomatic, where I think before I might have had from the womb to the tomb, and that might have put people over the edge.
It's the tension of wanting to define the religion and say, this is right, this is wrong. If you're going to be Catholic, you have to do this, you have to believe this, and so forth.
I think people have the impression that the church is absolute on homosexuality and absolute on marriage and divorce and single parents and all kinds of areas. But that's not necessarily the whole teaching.
And the other tension is saying, God loves everybody, and we should do the same and let God sort that out.
People also have a hard time defining exactly what it is that they do believe because they're trying to remain very open, and so there's a sense of drawing from a lot of different traditions, which on the one hand is great, but if you don't get sort of pushed to articulate what you do believe, then you end up sort of skimming the surface of a lot of things and not plumbing the depths.
I think right now in our faith community, that tension is exasperated, is highlighted, is being emphasized more. Deciding what's Catholic and what's not.
The issue really is, what is the identity of the church?
I really do think that because Ithaca is more progressive, and I just think it's a real special place, I think churches got to kind of jump on the bandwagon with the community if they're going to keep their members up and keep people interested in coming.
In the United Methodist tradition, we are what we call a reconciling congregation, and this means that we've gone out on a public limb to welcome gays and lesbians into our congregation. Other churches might, in theory, welcome people, but we've taken a public stand. And I think it's much easier to do that because most people, not all by any means, but more people probably would be leaning that way.
The full participation of gays and lesbians. Here it was never an issue.
We decided that we really wanted to add the T, or the transgender, to the statement. We held some classes this summer. It's called transaction classes. We have a small sort of book that we read, a little pamphlet really, and having conversations. Our hope is that after these conversations, we'll again go to the congregation as a whole body and ask them to vote to include the T as part of our welcoming statement.
We began the process of including women fully in the life of the congregation, the worship life of the congregation, in the late 1970s. That was a kind of a revolution. Yes, the fact that we were on the more liberal side meant that it happened earlier and there was a demand for it.
I mean, the church isn't just for one group. We're all gifted to serve, no matter who we are.
God intends for us to love our brothers and our sisters, and we're all God's children. So, you know, regardless of what the type of diversity is, it is our job to love everyone.
There's no reason why the Roman Catholic Church wouldn't invite people from every race, language, way of life, gender, sexual orientation into our church. This is a church of saints and sinners.
We in this church are predominantly white, we're, predominantly middle class, so we're predominantly on the upper echelon of society. And I think when you're out in the community and you're working to bring equality and justice, you begin to realize that we're all one.
Everybody is welcome to come in and join us for all of the activities, and all of the events that we have are to get the community involved and know what we're doing and how we are accepting of everyone. Like, we understand that this is a liberal community, and just because we're Catholic doesn't mean we have to stick to those stereotypes.
What we discovered was that we were each of us very isolated in our own communities, and when there were serious issues locally, it was important to have a common language and to feel some sense of commonality.
But I think it's part of the culture of Ithaca to really pull you out of yourself and reach out to the community.
I think the teens themselves are also looking for the community, a sense of growth, a sense of belonging. The teens raise money, like they have pancake breakfasts and stuff like that, and the other people, that gives them a chance to donate, to come to it, to share community with the teens, to meet the teens who are going forth, to say, we're going to pray for you, we're glad you're doing it. So I think it does help bring the generations, so it becomes intergenerational.
Today we had people from all over the world here at the Newcomers Welcome. So I feel like that will give them the opportunity to see, oh hey, there are people here that have similar experiences to mine, but look at all of these other experiences that these people have had.
Well, I think one thing that I see and really appreciate is the diversity of cultures who come into the area because of the two, college and the university, that it helps us to be able to reach out to other people and appreciate the other part of the world.
And I think that when you actually go and engage, you see things differently and you meet new people, and then your perspectives are changed.
Because of the secular influence here, that's forced religious communities to really embrace this social justice of teaching of the church.
We joined a group that was taking boots from fallen soldiers that had been killed in Iraq and Afghanistan and gathering them in a big collection and taking them all around the country and setting them out in public places with the names of the person whose boots they were and whatever you could find out about them. We did that in Ithaca. It was huge.
We import coffee from a cooperative of Jews, Muslims, and Christians in Uganda. Actually, there's going to be a speaker next week at Ithaca College. He happens to be the principal of the school in this community. So we sell the coffee and raise money to send back to help this community with scholarships for orphans and their medical needs. Just in terms of the population, there's a greater interest in intellectual stimulation and activity.
I mean, this is a highly academic community, so fluff is not going to pass. They're looking for sound theology and historicity of the Gospels.
There's been something of a shift to people who are very well educated but seeking spirituality.
I think that we are challenged, we're given a mind, we're given free will, and we should explore, study, learn, and then come to a decision. So I think that being a thinking parish leads us to deeper faith, not leading us away from faith.
There's much that could enhance one's religious experience if you're open to new ideas, and I tend to think people who sort of are progressive are more open to learning. Do you think there'll be some common ground one day? I mean, that's everybody's, liberals' hope, that we'll be able to all see the light together.
Wouldn't that be nice if every church could sort of embrace where people are? If that were happening all around the world, we'd be in better shape, I think.
I find it both a difficult time in which to live and also a very exciting time to live, because we're sort of wrapped up in this paradigm shift. And I think that the church, apart from the very conservative fundamental church, will have to change if it's going to survive. And my hope that out of that change, there will emerge a new, vibrant tradition that speaks to people's hearts and is compelling for people.